Hello and welcome to the ADHD Artist Podcast, where we explore and celebrate the lives of artists with ADHD. Listen to interviews with all different types of artists with ADHD, where we talk about life, art, superpowers, and... Wait, what was I saying? Hosted by Sarah Guys, your fellow ADHD artist. Thanks for joining. Hey everyone. Welcome to episode 11. I wanted to give a little shout out to some of my friends who started a podcast, which I'm really excited about. It's about understudying, which if you're an actor, you most definitely know what an understudy is. If you don't know what it is, it's basically an actor that's cast in a production to cover a performer if they're unable to attend a performance or if an emergency happens. So this understudy has to learn an entire role or multiple roles so that they can be a replacement at short notice, which is something fascinating. And I honestly can't believe there wasn't a podcast about this before. There is a certain art to understudying. So my friends Ilana Elise and Scott Sava have made a podcast called You're On in 5. And it explores what being an understudy is like. I just did an episode with them with my friend Nancy Payne, who was my understudy for a show in 2019 where halfway through the run, I broke my kneecap and had to drop out for the last 2 weeks. So she kind of tells her experience from her side and then my experience from what all that was like. And we also talk about other understudy experiences and just general fun actor stuff like theater superstitions, and it's a lot of fun. So please check it out. Search for You're On in 5 wherever you listen to podcasts. And I should be clear, this is not an advertisement. I'm just really excited about it, and I wanted to share it with you all. So today is going to be fun because we're finally going to start talking about music, which is such an important art form, and there are so many ADHD musicians out there, and not to mention music is so healing for many of our souls, but especially people with ADHD. I feel like it can just be such a game changer, at least for me. So I'm very excited to talk with Juliet Morse Aucreman today. So here's a little bit about Juliet. She is a piano teacher, composer, writer, visual artist, and occupational therapist living in San Clemente, California. She was a piano performance major at Eastman School of Music, holds a BA in psychology from University of Rochester, and an MS in occupational therapy from Boston University. She has published over 80 pieces in national and local print publications, including Attention Magazine. In 2019, Juliet released her book and music album, Fireflies of the Mind, A Journey into Mindfulness and Inner Strength, which is a literary, musical, artistic, and philosophical journey for multiple age groups. And it was inspired by the coursework from the ADHD Coaching Academy. It celebrates individuality and unique brain wiring and helps participants actively see new ways of being, growing, and joining the world around them. Juliet is currently at work on her second book/music album, The Crimson Heartstone, A Journey Towards Courage and Heart. So this is the first of hopefully many chats that I'll have with ADHD musicians. And obviously Juliet has many skills, but we talk a lot about teaching and performing piano in this episode. I hope you get as much out of it as I did. And without further ado, here is my chat with Juliet. All right. I am here with Juliet Morse Aucreman. Thank you so much for being here, Juliet. I'm very excited to have you.
Thank you for making all these things happen.
The way I always like to start is just to kind of bring it all into the moment. I want to ask, have you had any noticeably ADHD moments in the past couple days?
Well, what was kind of funny actually was before I started here with you, I had thoughts for that sort of question, and then I had, great answers and stuff. But what was funny was just before this all happened, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I actually need to clear off my desk so that I can even put my computer here so that I could, talk to you. And then, the free association started, where I started thinking about, well, desk cleaning. I mean, it's clearly a form of torture, because it's not even condoned by the Geneva Convention. Like, and then I started texting a friend of mine who has ADD, and I thought about sending her a picture of what my desk looked like, and I realized that I didn't even want to send it. I wasn't even to the point of it. And then I started explaining to her how I was thinking that maybe archaeologists could kind of graph out my desks with the different layers and the different objects from different epochs of my life. And then I started saying to her, oh, like, I'm just so glad that desks aren't like cars, where there's that dinging sound when you don't have your seatbelt on. Like, if a desk started dinging when it looked horrible, I was like, oh God, I'm so glad that's not true. So I thought, that just the situation with the desk, the tsunami on the desk, and then my sort of various free associations of things that you shouldn't think about or even associate with desks, and how those all came together. I kind of think of that as being a little,
I love the way you describe it as a tsunami, because often I feel that way as well. I'm like, well, I can't go into that corner of my room because it's a tsunami. It's dangerous over there.
And another funny thing was, jumping to something else. Speaking of all this, is like, I remember the keynote speaker, Sinbad, for this ADHD conference. He said at some point that he has 3 of everything, because he loses things. And I'm listening to him thinking, God, stop bragging. You only need 3? I need 5 of everything. They have to be sprinkled everywhere. If I need scissors, I have to have 10 pairs of them. And I still reorder them, because I still can't find them. And then I'll find a cache of them. And,
That's how I am with pencils. It's like I have to have my 5 pencils, and then I have to have like my backup set of pencils, and because ultimately they all go missing. It's like socks, Socks. There's just like a monster that somehow takes them away. And it might be my cats, but I'm pretty sure there's a monster.
I think we should blame it all on your cats.
I pretty much do that a lot. So I want to ask you a very broad question, and I was like, oh, maybe I should make it a little more specific, but I kind of just want to see how you respond.
Okay.
Why do you love music? Can you talk a little bit about what draws you to music, and why you love playing it and teaching it and composing it?
I'm not sure. My preschool report card said that I liked music. And it's funny, because I was recently taking a hike with my partner, and I asked him, because I thought it was just almost too obvious of a question, but I said, do you listen to a lot of music in your head? Like do you have your playlist in your head, and do you kind of listen to it? And he the way he responded made me feel like, maybe no. Like, I'm like, oh really? I said, you don't have music constantly playing in your head? And I just thought that this was, kind of par for the course. And I said, oh gosh, well, you're kind of lucky, because it can be pretty distracting.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll be doing something, and I'm like, oh, I should well, the thing is that actually I actually am so riveted towards music that I can't have it playing and do anything else. So I have even timed myself, where, let's say I had to quickly get out of the house, and if the music is on, it will take an hour to get ready to get out of the house. And if there's no music, it's 30 minutes. Yeah, exactly. And so basically, oddly enough, sadly, I can't listen to much music, because it's everything. So I do teach music all day, so I do have a chance to listen to it.
Sure.
But it's funny, because I also remember thinking to myself, and these things just seem pretty obvious to me, and so I don't even ask other people. I just assume everybody has music playing in their head all the time. And after the comment from my partner, who is very, very musical, and he, this is one of the things that we connect on. I was doing something, and I was thinking, gosh, this is I think maybe I could listen to music and do this at the same time. That would really be a de-stressor. That would be nice. And then I thought,
Mhm.
well, I could just keep on listening to what's in my head. I was like, I'd really like to hear some Phil Collins. I could just turn it on in my head. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay. The funny thing is that it's not like it's loud or anything. It's not like you would actually think that you heard it in the room.
I've heard different people with ADHD talk about music in ways where it's like some of us have to listen to music in order to get things done, and some of us like cannot do it. And
Yeah,
I'm one of
right,
those
right.
people that really benefits from having music playing, but no lyrics. I've got it playing
Oh,
in my head all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah,
But
right.
I like having it playing, but if there's lyrics, no way. I'm not going to get
Oh,
anything
yeah,
done.
I can't even carry on a conversation with someone if there's lyrics and
Yep.
music at the same time. It's so distracting.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I there's so much to go into with music. I mean, it affects all of us so much, and I think I think there's probably a lot of musicians out there with ADHD.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, do you in your teaching and composing and creating music yourself, do you notice a correlation between ADHD and making music?
Hmm. And making music. Uh, well, I suppose,
Or the desire to make music, maybe?
I don't know. I do think that it might affect how you interpret things where, I remember I had a teacher who, told me in a most condescending way, you never play, the same piece of music the same way twice. And it was clear that he was angry about it.
Hmm.
And I thought, wait a second, wait, aren't we supposed to be interpreting this? Like,
Huh.
if I'm doing it the same way every single time, is that art? Is that really music?
Huh.
I mean, is that creating, like, that's really the goal? You really would want it to be the same every way? Anyway, that's
Yeah.
some classical musicians can get a little bit rigid at times.
Yeah. That's so fascinating for me, not being in that world. I
Uh-huh.
that's not even a question that I would have like thought of like,
Yeah.
is it art? If you're just repeating or you're just copying exactly what that person did. I mean,
Right.
I
Right.
assume
Because
it
we
can be
have
argued in both ways, both
Oh,
sides.
sure. But I mean, now we have incredible technology that makes it possible for uh, an artist to play on the piano, let's say, and play with various interpretations, and the entire thing is made such that you can then play it back on like a modern day player piano with all the dynamics, everything. So if we do it the same way every time, well, we've got an app for that.
Yeah, that's
you know
wow.
so so to me that how is that performance if it's the same exactly every time? That's not really how, well, to me, I think he yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Well, is that so you are a composer and also a performer, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, and I also do visual art, actually. I do
Oh,
paper cutouts. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Like,
Okay.
and like the book that I did has all these paper cutouts.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Fireflies of the Mind.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. So yeah, I love cutting out pieces of paper
Oh
um,
yeah.
and stuff. It works well for me because I can just keep on rearranging things 5 million times. So I actually do quite a lot of visual art too. So, but I guess the deep training that I got with going to millions of music camps, and then
Yeah.
I went to music conservatory and all that. I didn't do that with art, but I
Right.
do a lot of art. Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, and I'm finding that to be a theme with most of the people I've been interviewing is like they have their main art form, that they went to school for, or maybe they make money
right.
with and all that, but they also dabble in all kinds of different art because if you're creative, you want to scratch that itch all around. You know, different art forms can like bring out different sides of you or work different parts of the brain. So I think that's
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. And then I've done a lot of writing too, a lot of creative writing, and there's a kind of musicality to writing, and a very visual element to it too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, that's all.
it's so interesting. My boyfriend is he's a poet, but he does like
Oh my
slam.
goodness.
Yeah, he does like slam poetry. And so it's interesting that he, you know, he's part of like some groups in Chicago where there's like where they perform the poetry, so it becomes like a performance, and it becomes, you know, he puts like visuals to it,
Oh,
and it's like, you know, it's a whole performance piece. And I always thought that was interesting because I always, for some reason, I always thought of poetry as like, you know, that's writing and it's just writing. It's, you know, you write
right.
poetry, but then it and then you bring it into music, and it there's that too. So um always fascinated by like different art forms kind of joining.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because when I'll be talking to my piano students about different periods of music,
Hmm.
then I'll say, and this is what the visual artists were doing at that time. And do you see how that correlates? Like with
Mm.
the Impressionist music, I'm like, okay, so this is Impressionist music. It kind of gives you these ideas, sort of this waves of sound. You're not quite sure what it is. You can kind of put your own ideas into it. Now, look at Monet's water lilies. Of course, you've seen it so many times that you're just thinking, oh yeah, Monet's water lilies. But really, look what's happening. It's really this idea of water lilies, but really you're just kind of lost in this wash of color and thought.
Oh.
And so the same thing with Baroque music, like J.S. Bach and stuff, where there's a lot of what we call ornamentation, like things like that, and and parts of it feel actually very scientific, just very, very carefully programmed in a gorgeous way. And then the art done at the same time is highly ornamented and highly detailed, and so it's
Wow.
and these people were very much hanging out with each other, so it's those ideas that all carry across.
Sure, yeah. Oh, that's interesting looking at like the history of it, and
Yeah,
seeing like different
yeah,
periods of time, what was necessary.
right, the thoughts that were going behind it, the philosophers, all these people were
Sure.
going together. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I want to take a step back from talking about art specifically. I wanted to ask, when were you officially diagnosed with
Let's see.
ADD,
Well,
ADHD?
I was 27, and
Okay.
I think my mother had an inkling before that.
Hmm.
but but it was when I was 27, you see, because I didn't realize it, but now I describe it this way. I didn't ever think I had any issues with attention. In fact, people who would watch me would be thinking, I'm pretty hyper focused.
Hmm.
But this inattentive form of ADD, which is actually so common in girls, and so many people who don't get diagnosed with it and are just labeled as being, okay, well, you're a little spacey, or you just didn't try hard enough,
Yeah.
or whatever. Those are the people who really get lost in the cracks, because it's in school, it's probably really your ability to sit in the chair is whether you get diagnosed or not, really.
Mhm.
So that whole idea of the hyperactivity is not necessarily happening. So what I didn't realize, but that I realize better now, is that all along I was developing compensatory strategies to make myself
Mm.
concentrate. So as an example, all through school, when I was reading a textbook or when I was reading whatever I was reading, I would be actively taking notes at the same time and highlighting and all this. And I always used to think, oh, gee, if only this book already came with the notes, then I wouldn't have had to make the notes. And I would give people the notes like, oh, well, this is, see, now you don't have to do it because that's really all you need. But clearly not realizing that it was the act of
Yep.
making the notes that was making me remember the notes, and that really I was needing to do that to harness myself. And
Yeah.
so everything was, so to speak, fine until I was out of school. And then when I started working in, so let's see, I went to music school, and then I had this brilliant idea that I would go to occupational therapy school and help musicians who had various physical overuse problems, because we
Oh,
all
wow.
had them. Yeah, if you do anything incredibly specific with your fingers
Yep.
for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours a day, believe it or not, we weren't made to do that, and you'll have some trouble. So I had this trouble because of overdoing all sorts of things, and so I went to occupational therapy school, and it was just fascinating, the whole graduate program. And then I started working in hospitals, and in that environment where it was like, oh, by the way, this, oh, by the way, that, oh, by the way, this, oh, do this, oh, do that, oh, by the way, this, that,
Yeah.
just this barrage of stimuli all around me. Suddenly, uh, I was not doing so well. uh,
Mm.
and I was kind of appalled at the things that I would forget to do, and it was really kind of scary, because I felt like, I mean, there'd be like a supervisor would show me paperwork where there were like gaping holes here and there, and
Mm.
I was just so appalled, because I had, as you can imagine, created all sorts of checklists for myself because of wanting to make sure I did all these things. And in fact, I would give all my coworkers these checklists, because I thought, well, surely you can't possibly remember all these 7 things you have to do with all these patients. And I didn't know. They
Right.
were just like, as I continued in these sorts of fast-paced environments with so much stimulation, I as I did that, I just came to so doubt my own mind,
Mm.
and it was kind of frightening. And so by the time I went to get some help on it, the I went to a psychiatrist, because I had a feeling, because actually my family kind of has a tradition of ADD.
Mm. Got it.
And so the psychiatrist's response was, you can't possibly have this issue, because if you're able to articulate yourself so well about this issue, clearly you don't have it. And what
Huh.
you're talking about, oh, everybody has things like that. Oh, everybody has to have better productivity. Oh, everyone forgets stuff. And then I actually had to bring in my boyfriend at the time to convince the psychiatrist that I had the issues that I said I had, which was really demoralizing. Like, you
Mm.
won't even believe me unless I bring someone in.
Mm.
You you're a psychiatrist. You should believe like what I'm coming in and telling you. And uh, so anyway, I am someone who is. I think I'm very lucky that I respond well to medication, and so then at that point, it was like I got access to my head again when I was in
Hmm.
environments like that. So, um, so I'm so grateful, but it's scary too, because you have this feeling that everything that you've worked so hard for was just slipping through your fingers, and people who initially treated you like you were really smart, suddenly they're treating you like you're really stupid, and then as you continue
Mm.
to underperform, doing things that you don't consider to be a big deal, suddenly everyone around you starts to seem like a genius. And uh, yeah, it was profoundly demoralizing and scary, because I had worked so hard to get to that point, and I had
Mhm.
I had worked very, very, very hard in school for my A minuses, like
Yeah.
and B pluses and whatever. And I did achieve a lot with the piano. I did go to extremely competitive conservatory and all this, but it was truly chilling to feel like everything that I'd worked for and everything I had thought I had was not at my fingertips. So it was
Mm.
profoundly discouraging.
Did you did you find, because you did so many different things, it sounds like, at this time. Did you feel like your art was affected by getting overwhelmed at that time?
Well, uh, no, not necessarily.
Got it.
No,
I was,
uh,
yeah, that's kind of what I was
no,
wondering.
but well. but if you're feeling a certain way, then of course the things that you're drawn to make and do are going to be colored by your feelings.
When people started treating you differently, what was it that you think they were noticing?
It felt like they were. It felt like they were. I felt like I was stupid, and that was what was being noticed. and and it was, and I felt misunderstood also. I remember at one point I was at some internship and there was a piano and I played something, and my supervisor's comment was, well, maybe that explains why you're performing here the way you are. Basically, like the idea, like evidently that's all you can do. That kind of idea. Yeah, it was horrifying. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. It's also like, if you like zoom out, it could be like a backhanded compliment, because it's also like, wow, you're so good at that.
Right.
But like, in a work environment, it's like, but I need you to be good at
Right.
this.
Right. Right. It was
Yeah.
horrifying, really.
Yeah.
And what was incredible was just how the medication changed everything. But I think one thing is, in a way, I think those experiences did take me towards work that really worked better for me anyway. So it's like, yeah, I could do all those things now very well, like with medication, and now, but maybe those things weren't my passion anyway, and so maybe, I mean, I actually went back to OT. I haven't done it for a few years now, but I went back to, so I took a while where I only taught piano, and then, and maybe 11 years or something where I only taught piano. And then I did go back to OT, when was it? I think something like 12 years ago. And I did pediatrics for quite a while. And then that worked brilliantly. That worked extremely well. And but I think in a way it was better. It's better to be doing things that are naturally your thing anyway.
Yeah. I know it's so funny, because like, I talk with so many people about this, and like, I just want to be doing this passion. I wish that I was passionate about something that paid more.
Oh, geez.
Oh
my goodness.
It's so funny.
Geez.
Yeah,
I
it's so
feel
funny.
fortunate that I have that in my back pocket, because when
Sure.
the economy does what it does, people aren't thinking, oh, let's put more of our money into piano lessons. It's like the economy
Sure.
goes down and people are like,
Yeah.
oh, that goes first. So it's nice to have that in my back pocket. But the other thing is actually the training for that and everything that goes into occupational therapy is actually a fascinating study of mind and how you think and how you can learn to do things. And actually, I pull on that constantly as I teach piano. And I also think that all these compensatory strategies that I pulled together actually help me tremendously as a piano teacher to make the piano lessons really into a lesson about how to come up with a user's manual for your mind.
Oh, I like that.
And
A user's manual.
yes, I must thank the ADD coaching academies for some of these really great ideas that I heard there. I took some courses there because I thought, man, that would be neat to bring that coaching language into piano teaching. And actually, because of those that incredible coursework, I really have made it now so that my piano lessons really are very much about the bigger picture. I am a hard driving teacher just because I think it's a good experience for them to have this rigorous learning experience, during which time they are learning to bring together all sorts of life skills. So, but it's fun because you can pull from so many things, philosophy, neuroscience, coaching, all sorts of things, so that we have this opportunity to make piano teaching into a vessel in which we bring up amazing young citizens.
Yeah. Well, and that's a perfect segue into, I wanted to ask you about this article that you wrote for Attitude
Oh yeah.
Magazine back in February 2020. And, I read it and I really loved it. And to me, what I took from it is that it was kind of learning how to
Yeah.
learn, and I was wondering if you could share that story of working with that student with us. I wrote breaking it up into smaller
Oh
pieces
yes.
and changing it up so your brain doesn't get bored. You were working with a specific
Yes.
student that was having
Oh yes.
trouble. Yeah.
So whatever they're working on, we're finding ways to break it up, and then we're also talking about how the mind works in order for that to work well. So we're working to harness their attention, partly so that they do pay attention, but also then you talk about the science of how that works and how they can apply that to other things that they're working on. So we'll talk about how the brain is so drawn to variety. And so when we take some small part of something and we scrub it hard, and then we go to something else, then every time we shift to something else, the brain is like, oh yeah, cool, this is interesting, this is different. Wait, how did I put this together? So I will talk to them about how this really harnesses their attention, but also how the brain works. Basically, we need to be alert to changes in our environment. That is a good thing, because if we're constantly thinking about how, oh yeah, there's my sofa, it's brown, like if we're thinking that all day long, then we don't necessarily see the elephant charging at us from whatever. So
Sure.
so I talk a lot about how we harness our attention by working hard on something and then keep continually shifting back and forth. And then I'll talk about how athletes, they'll actually find that athletes will do so much better if there's a lot of shifts in practice. So the thing is that in playing an instrument or something, we get so wound up in practicing. Like if we're really riveted on something and we want a certain passage to be just amazing, if we as really riveted musicians do something, let's say 15 times in a row, by the 15th time you play it, oh my God, it sounds amazing. You're just ripping. It's so fast. Turns out that actually after maybe the fourth time you did it, your brain is kind of doing what they call a feed forward sort of a thing, where really it's just like you already built the luge slide chute, and now you're just dumping more grease on it, and you're going faster and going faster, thinking you're getting better, but actually it's not really laying down the memory the way it does in the beginning, where the brain is like, wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what was it? Wait, how did I put it together? Oh, that's how I did. Oh, that, okay, that's how I did. Okay, now here we go. So every time you shift to something else, your brain's like, wait, how did I do this? Wait, what? Wait, what? And so I'll talk to my students about how these wait, what moments are what is really harnessing them. And so working intensely and repetitively, but constantly shifting, how this is how we lay things down. And then I'll talk to them about how they study, how they break down other things that they do. I'll often talk to them about what their father, who's sitting in the room, does for a living, and how he is breaking things down into different components, and how this is how amazing things happen. This is how we build an amazing life. And so I continually keep on bringing it around to really the artistry of building an amazing life for yourself.
I love that. I think learning how to learn is can be a big issue for people with ADHD specifically, because, we just assume that the normal way that people are doing things should work for us, and then it doesn't. And so we have to kind of learn to keep ourselves interested. And that sounds, much better to me, because it's like, when I get bored, I'm like, okay, moving on. But if I'm constantly, my brain is constantly saying,
right.
Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what was that? Then I'm going to be much more engaged and probably learn things better. So,
right. And I'll say to my students, hey, this is kind of great news, because you'd rather do it that way anyway, right?
Yeah, that's so great. So then, with all your different art forms, I hesitate to just pick one.
No, do whatever. It's all good.
But I wanted to ask, what does it feel like to make art?
So let's just maybe at the moment just talk about visual art
Sure.
for fun. What does it feel like? Well, I think that maybe it feels like the wonderful meditation that some people experience by meditating. That's my understanding.
Are you a meditator or no?
I'm a should. I guess I should, and it's on the list.
Yes, the scroll of things to try.
It's just amazing how long the list can be, and then meditating is at the bottom. And so I think it's like this meditation. It's this wonderful chance to zero in on something to the exclusion of other things, and I think that's what you're supposed to achieve by meditating. So I actually think that, I mean, in fact, practicing an instrument, I think, is like meditating, because you're taking some small section and you're hyper focusing on it, and to the exclusion of all other things. And I shouldn't jump around between art forms so much, but I do talk to my students actually about how, okay, what are we bringing together with meditating? And everyone does seem to agree at this point that meditating actually is healthy for you. And I said, in what way really is practicing not meditating? And there's a wonderful article that I always like to pull up from online where it talks about that. And so I don't know how much that sinks in with my students. My students always nod and smile and agree with me. So whether or not I'm being effective, I'm not sure. So I would say that doing an art form feels like this wonderful chance to just delve into something to the exclusion of other things, and to play with thoughts and allow yourself and who you are with all your raggedy edges to be okay and complete.
Yeah, and I like the idea of playing an instrument, or like you were saying, making visual art. It's something that's tactile, and you can do something with your hands rather than sitting still and meditating, which is very helpful for a lot of people with, especially with ADHD. But but it's also very difficult to just sit there. So if you can do something with your hands, like that's tactile, I think that you can get to a similar place.
I think so. I hope so. When I become an enlightened person, then I will be doing a lot of meditating, and I'll let you know all about it.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'll let you know too when I cross the threshold. So we talked a little bit about visual art, and we kind of talked about making music, but I do want to ask, like, what does it feel like for you to make music? And is that different from the visual art?
I think when I play the piano, there will be these washes of feeling that come over you. I think, and I'm sure that other people will relate to this. Sometimes you'll hear a song and you'll just be taken right back to high school.
Yeah.
And the feelings that you had when you heard that song, and all these memories that get triggered through that. So people have called music art over time. And so when I'll be practicing something, if it has a certain mood or a certain kinds of harmonies or whatever, I will feel these sort of waves of feeling go through me. And so I think that's like the art over time sort of thing.
Yeah.
Actually, the visual art I find to be so much more forgiving, because you see, I make paper cutouts. So I'll make a shape and then I can move it around or recut it or do things a million different times. I don't really visualize things. I don't honestly have an idea of what I want to make before I make it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I want to make a Viking ship. So well, I guess maybe there's like a scrolly thing. Okay, let me try to draw that. Okay, looks bad. Okay, I'll cut it a little more. That's not, so basically, I keep on doing it until I'm less dissatisfied. So the neat thing about the visual art is that I can continuously tweak it. And I guess that's true with composing too. You can continuously tweak it. Performing on the piano where you're actually playing, and I'm sure, I mean, live performance like what you do,
Sure.
is less forgiving. But it does pull together some important experiences and important thoughts that can be, well, I just think it's an incredible educational tool. I think with performance, you have all this stuff that goes before it, and then this incredible wave as you're doing it, and then this incredible processing of what just happened.
Sure, yeah.
Actually, both during and after the performance, and it's this incredible journey.
Yeah.
and it's elating and humbling. And I do find it to be an incredible vessel for commenting on just about everything that happens to you in life, because life is a performance, and we're going to mess up a ton, and then we're going to continue.
Yep.
And
find our way through
always,
it. Yeah.
We're always preparing and experiencing and processing all at the same time,
Sure.
and before and after, and really, actually, I heard Roxanne say to Eric Tivers, he was arguing that he wasn't creative, and she was just like, "Are you kidding? Look, we're all creating all the time. I mean, as this conversation, I'm quoting her, this conversation is not scripted,
Yeah.
and so that's the thing, is that our lives are a performance, and so much of what we need to learn is how to forgive ourselves so that we can continue as our best selves and to embrace others wherever they're at. Performance is an incredible opportunity to learn empathy.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's funny because I have a student at the moment who I know that performance is so far down the list of what she would like to do that she has to actively dig a hole to show how low it is in her priority list. and I said to her, and I say to a lot of my students, that I really think that performing is an incredibly important experience to pursue, even and perhaps especially if it's negative.
Sure, yeah.
Because as long as we continually reframe the experience as, this is not about how much I hated piano recitals, and then have that be what you learned, no, I'm like, this is all about preparing for something hard.
Yeah.
Going through it, mastering or dealing with all the things our mind has to say beforehand, during, and after, and how this is all like a huge learning experience.
Yeah.
So with this particular student, I was saying, okay, I really want you to think of this as not being about the piano, not being about me, not being about your parents wanting you to do the piano, not about music, not about anything other than this experience that you will learn from profoundly. And actually, I'm a huge fan of this book called Grit, which is by Angela Duckworth. And she actually talks a lot about the importance of young people having a, so to speak, hard thing. And whatever it is, you need to do it for at least 2 years or whatever. And basically that is tremendously formative in your entire development and does change who you are as an adult. And so I will often say to parents, hey, I want you to know that I am both silly and hard driving. And I want you to know that my mission is actually not to make lots of robotic, pianists, whatever.
Sure.
That basically we have this opportunity to work together to work on things that are truly formative and important in terms of who you become as an adult. And so when I start really getting on your student's case about practicing, I want you to know that in a way, I really don't care about the piano at all. It has nothing to do with the piano. It's our opportunity to take this journey with this young person and to join together with the ideas we're trying to convey. And the piano is the vessel.
Wow. I kind of want you to be my piano teacher. I'm like, I haven't really considered playing piano, but you're kind of selling me, and that's great.
So basically, I mean, many people will have books that it's not about whatever. So I mean, what I would say is it's not about the piano.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you would feel the same way, if you were teaching acting.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, especially that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, and it's so personal too.
Yeah,
you bring so much
thing.
of yourself to it. Yeah,
it is so personal. That's the other thing I did forget to mention. Yes, it's so personal that it really hurts.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. You take it personally because it is personal.
Yes,
like when you don't like live up to your own expectations or
yes,
all that.
Yes. You have truly presented your guts.
Right. But then to me, it's like, once you forgive yourself and get over that hump, it's like, then you're more comfortable showing your guts again at some point, once you work through that. And then and then, to bring up Brene Brown, which I always do, that there's your courage, that's courageous. And so I do want to ask, how can we support your work? Where can we find you?
Oh, gee, well, I with the help of some really wonderful people who helped me, in all sorts of ways. I was lucky to have finished a project that is called Fireflies of the Mind, a journey into mindfulness and inner strength. And it is a book that's actually very much of a commentary on our experiences of having all sorts of thoughts in our head that get in our way, and then moving forward. And so this is a book and a story and actually a music album where I have all these people, wonderful people singing, and so that is available on Amazon, and I am hard at work on my next story. So actually, I think that ADD people will very much notice ADD-ish wonderful characteristics in the characters. I started this project with the impetus of needing to do a final project for this ADD Coaching Academy. And actually it was because I needed a final project that I just thought, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do a final project. What can I do easily? And I thought, oh yeah, I'll just make a bunch of songs. That'd be easy. And then it kind of got out of hand. But them having this final project, I thought, well, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's just a final project. And I think that allowed me to forgive myself in order to do it in the first place. And so now I'm on to the next thing, and and the next one will be called The Crimson Heartstone, and I'm hard at work for the visual art part of that. I've composed the music, and that is absolutely some yummy ADD characters.
Yes, that's so great.
And so those things are all available on Amazon. Unfortunately, Amazon doesn't bundle these things together, so you actually have to purchase the music separately from the book, which is too bad. And then there's also an audiobook that the narrator, Doug Marsh, does an incredible, wonderful job. And it feels actually very meditative. And then the music is interspersed. And he makes this incredible sensory journey out of it. So what else? Oh, yes. So people can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. It's juliet.multi.media.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, sounds like you've got your hands full. You've got lots of projects going on.
Oh,
That's so
never
exciting.
dull, right?
Yeah. Gotta keep at it. So.
And I can't wait to hear more about your projects. I'm absolutely fascinated. You've got such, oh my goodness. And your other podcasts, I just absolutely thrilled to listen
a lot.
to them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been
journeys.
very lucky to have such good people on here from such different backgrounds and such, different art forms. And it's been really rewarding. Juliet, this has been such a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to support more of your work and to, see what all you do in the future.
Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. I'm quite humbled and I love what you're doing. Very, very exciting. So excited.
Amazing. Well, let's stay in touch and we'll talk to you later. All right.
Okay. Have a magnificent day. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. And that's it for today for the ADHD Artist Podcast. This podcast was produced by me, Sarah Guise. Original music composed by Christopher Aaron Narr. You can find more of his work at www.christopheraaronnar.com. Narr is spelled Knarr. Podcast artwork by Joseph Ramsky. For any inquiries, you can contact him directly at jramski3@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at the ADHD Artist Pod.